Hi, today I'd like to address the topic of self-care and how do we look after ourselves in a holistic way, the way God has called us to do. Let me start with a quote from Brené Brown. How much we know and understand ourselves is critically important, but there is something more essential to a wholehearted life: loving ourselves. Now, healing from addiction requires not only stopping behaviors and bad habits. These are things which are on the outside, on the surface. What's really happening is what's more important is the things that are happening inside. The stresses, the strains of life, maybe the emotions, some tiredness, or even being upset at some kind of situation. And we need to learn how to manage these things. How to manage maybe go even deeper and manage the pain and the difficult things that happen in our life, to manage them in a healthy way, as God has intended. Jesus said, love the Lord God with all your heart, with all your mind, with all your strength, and love others as yourself. And it's one thing which is a process for us to learn. It's learning to love ourselves, learning to give ourselves grace, learning to allow ourselves to make mistakes, allowing us not to be perfect, and maybe sometimes we fall short, sometimes we make mistakes, and we do some silly things, but as the Lord has forgiven us, as He gave up His life and to take atonement and to take our place for these mistakes, then we need to believe that, and we need to give ourselves that grace and give ourselves that space. If you can truly find value in ourselves, you can become someone who's learning healthy self-care. Okay, and so what ways do you look after yourself? What ways are you taking care and coping in healthy ways? For me, for example, when I finish a long day at work, what I like to do is, as I'm traveling home, I like to put some music on, soft music, and just pray, talk to God a little bit, and process some of my emotions. Maybe I'm feeling tired. Maybe I don't want to speak to anyone else in my day, but I know that when I get home, my boys are going to be there, my wife is going to be there, and I need to be a father, I need to be a husband, and so it's not time for me to shut off, and for any time personally for me. But what helps me, as I say, is listening to that music, just taking, I can be walking through the street, there could be many people around me, but if I have the right music, I can take some time out with God, and then I'm ready to go home and just be attentive and engage with my family. One of the other things that we struggle with is the judgments that we put on ourselves, right? How often do we beat ourselves up? How often do we say, oh, not again? Oh, really? You've done this again? Oh, you're so stupid. Why? And I think a process for us is learning to extend grace to ourselves and give ourselves that space. Oh, well, maybe that's who I am. I did it again. Let's process it with God. Maybe process it with somebody else, your loved ones, good friends, which kind of brings me on to the next part. There's 4 areas where we need to nurture ourselves: mentally, physically, spiritually, and emotionally. Physically, we all know about exercise and eating well, but also the importance of going to the doctors and having regular checkups, going to the dentist, checking your teeth. And what about healthy sleep routines? What about healthy device routines? Turning the phones off, turning the TVs off at certain points in the day, and giving yourself some time. What about nurturing ourselves mentally? Do we spend time reading or studying something which is maybe outside of our career and work, something just to stimulate our brain and to learn something new? What about nurturing ourselves spiritually? What about if we could take 15 minutes of our day and just sit in quiet solitude with God and just rest in his presence. How much of a difference does that make? I know it sounds a lot, and we're busy and we have so many things going on, but I truly believe, and me myself, if I could put that into practice and do that daily, my life would definitely be different. And what about emotionally? Who do you talk to? Do you have good friends who will not only talk superficially but actually go a little bit deeper, and someone where you can open your heart, be real with? There's no facade, there's no fear of being shamed or laughed at, but you can be open and vulnerable with them, because those are key relationships that we need to help us process our emotions. These are just some things that we need to be doing to embrace self-care. And if we can incorporate those 4 different areas of our life, we're well on our road to healthy self-care living.